In this episode of the On.NET Show, we're going to learn all about application insights with my friend Michael. Welcome to another episode of the On.NET Show. My name is Cecil Phillip, and with me today I have Michael Milirud. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on, man. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what team are you on right now in Microsoft?
I'm a product manager on Azure Monitoring team,
Okay.
and there is a number of products we all put together for the Azure Monitoring experience. The one I'm working on right now is Application Insights.
Okay. And so Application Insights for me is probably one of the ones that I'm more familiar with.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about Application Insights, it's like application performance and monitoring tooling, right? Like that's what it's for?
That's correct. So there are multiple layers you could be monitoring when you run production workloads. You could be looking at infra, you could be looking at the sort of network layer,
Sure.
or you could be going all the way up to the application layer where you see requests coming in, dependencies going out, exceptions happening in your code.
Got it. So I'm used to writing logs. I'm used to capturing telemetry and some of these type of things. Is Application Insights a development time tool, or is it a production time tool, or is it something that I could use in both places?
That's the beautiful thing. It's actually both.
Okay.
You can use this both during your inner loop development when you write your code inside your IDE, and we have a rich integration story there. And you can also use this when you're monitoring production workloads, whether you have access to your code or not.
Gotcha. All right, so why don't we take a look at the demo you have here? So what's
Sure.
this?
So I wanted to show you something that is sort of very close to the dev experience. This is an app service. It's a demo app service that we typically demo AI with. It's called Fabricam Fiber. And I can sort of click around this, and it's a basic ticketing system for employees, right? Some of these things will fail, like if I try to do this, it will fail. There's an exception.
Uh-oh.
But overall, it's a very simple app. And I have this loaded here in Visual Studio. So it's just a regular project. And one thing to know about Application Insights, we've done all the work to integrate this throughout the dev experiences, the Visual Studio experiences, which means if you create a new project, you'll see a toggle there at the creation path saying on or off AI. If you turn it on, it'll just work. Right?
That's interesting. So as I'm creating my new application, I could just flip the switch and I can turn on Application Insights.
That is correct. And if you forgot that, you can always use the wizard to apply it afterwards, or you could go to the portal and apply it from there as well.
Okay, great. So then even if I have a pre-existing application running on Azure or just inside of Visual Studio,
Absolutely.
If I missed out on the opportunity to get it on creation time, I could always put it in a little bit later.
That's correct. Yep.
Cool, great.
So in this case, there is already Application Insights enabled in this project, and there is ApplicationInsights.config file. That's where sort of all the wizardry of what we enable and pull into the project goes, and you're welcome to look at this afterwards. There are a couple of sort of handy links here that can guide you to various experiences. This is our link to the portal. But we also have experiences at the ID, and I want to show you that first.
Sure, let's take a look at those.
So one of them is searching live telemetry. If you click on that, we'll actually show you all of the telemetry we collect. So remember I mentioned Application Insights is an app model level monitoring.
Yeah.
So what that means is we actually go and we hook into all the requests coming in and we see them individually. We look at every single dependency call you make out, like HTTP calls, SQL calls, and we collect the parameters there as well. We look at your exceptions and we collect the call stacks, right?
Yeah.
We do profiling, debugging in the context and the scope of your application. So it's all connected to your code. And here you can see the various telemetry items that we have been collecting. For instance, page views, custom events, there'll be traces, exceptions, dependencies. Those are different types of telemetry that AI collects and then uploads to analytics for us to make sense of. All of this is live, and you can actually consume this from Visual Studio without ever leaving Visual Studio IDE.
So what's interesting about this is, again, I have this in-editor experience. Do I have to do anything special to get this? Do I have a particular extension I need to install, or is it once I have Visual Studio, I kind of just have this extension and I just need to turn on Application Insights?
So if you're using Visual Studio 15 or 17, this is already built in.
Okay.
All you do is just say, I want AI. There are additional nuggets you can download to get additional sort of diagnostics like snapshot debugging.
Sure.
And we'll sort of slightly touch on that later. But most of the core experiences are all built in.
Got it. And so also with this experience we have here, is this a purely local debugging experience, or like for instance, are these events stored in the cloud somewhere, or are they just local?
This is coming from the cloud. This is actual live experience, and that's what makes it so great, because you can be testing inner loop as much as you want, but then you put it out in production, and it's a very different experience. This lets you go and debug live what's happening in production, and then you can put workloads on this. I can do a perf test load. In fact, I ran a couple of loads, and I'll show you afterwards that the data spiked. So you see all of this here.
What I like about this really cool is, I usually like to work with multiple monitors, right? I might have something that's running Visual Studio. I might have my web browser in one, or my database, or some other monitoring tool in the other one. So essentially, I could take this tab and put it in another monitor, right? And I could just kind of watch my telemetry as it's coming in, right? And as I continue my development experience.
In fact, let me show you something really cool. We have this feature called, so I'm going to jump to the portal, called Live Metrics. And this is very close to sort of your perfmon experience. It's just this is perfmon for Azure, right?
Got it.
Or in fact, any monitored workload from Azure. And here I'm actually monitoring this very application. And let me actually go and generate some load. And as I generate load, you'll see that it would show up here. It will show up here.
Okay.
And if I were to create an exception by clicking on something that doesn't work, it will show up there right away as well. So now you see exception rate just jumped.
Right. So I see on the right side here that it says, exception method, and it gives you the message.
And you can actually go into this, and you can see the entire call stack.
Great. Awesome.
So this is live monitoring of a production workload running in Azure.
And so is it essentially capturing all of my events, or is there like some filter that I could apply to this to say, hey, only capture these particular types of events and traces and stuff?
So that's actually a great question. This is where this configuration file comes in. And you don't need to figure this out the first time you use it. We actually set the right smart defaults for you.
Sure.
But we have something called adaptive sampling. It would be too expensive and too much overhead to collect 100% of the requests coming in, every single dependency.
Yeah.
But for a given request, you want to know everything that happened usually. Otherwise, you cannot debug.
Sure.
Right? So what we do is we sample. And by default, we do 5% sampling, but we're adaptive in that if we see a burst of workloads, we will actually throttle ourselves so that we don't impact your production throughput.
Gotcha. So it's almost like intelligent sampling. So
it's
not going to affect the performance of my application. It's not going to get slower.
Yes.
But still, I'm able to get this rich, useful information.
That is exactly it. Correct.
Gotcha.
So other things we have in here are code-less integration, which means I'm right in the code, and I've shown this to many developers. They all get excited about this actually much more than the portal, because this is where they sit most of the time and spend their time. So you can actually, on top of the methods, can click on code-lens, and this is live integration with that data again.
Sure.
If you see exceptions in there, you'll actually see this here as well. You'll be able to jump to the data specific to just that particular method if you wanted to.
Got it.
There are many more things in the Visual Studio integration. I don't really, I think, have time today to show you this. For instance, you can go and you look at trends and see where the anomalies are. For instance, this could be an anomaly based on load. So it will tell you that count of exceptions in time bucket is significantly different from the expected count of 107. Because for this exception, usually you got less before.
Sure.
And then you can go double click on that and try to diagnose this. I actually wanted to show you the portal experiences because they're far richer than what you can get in the Visual Studio, and many developers don't realize that.
Sure, but I think this is really cool. So essentially, we're getting some form of almost like anomaly detection, right?
Yes, there is anomaly detection in Application Insights. It's detecting regressions against baseline. It's also detecting outliers against baseline nearby.
Got it. So based on that, like once Application Insights detects this, can I set up like alerts or notifications
yes, you can.
to let me know, hey, the world is blowing up.
Yes, you can.
We should react to this.
And one of the reasons I wanted to go to Portal is we actually have smart detection, which is a alerting mechanism that is on by default. You don't have to do anything. And it will alert you anytime there are regressions against baselines and things like request failure rates or durations.
All right, well, let's head over to the portal and take a look.
So there are different ways of doing this. One of them, if you're in Visual Studio, just click on this, right? Or you just go and log in on your portal and search for the Application Insights resource. Either one will work. And what that will do is it will load up the Azure portal, and will show you the Application Insights resource.
Sure.
One of the other really cool things in the portal, and the reason I think that portal is being underutilized, is the ability to dashboard. All of the experiences you see here, you can pin on dashboards. And you can actually then put this up on a big screen, have a team review this on a daily stand-up, see all of the metrics. There's a lot of data in Application Insights, and in 20 minutes we can't possibly cover all of this, but sort of at a high level, we have alerting, so you can detect, give you ability to see live what's happening on the servers, and I showed you a bit of that.
Yeah. So let's talk about really quick. So this says 2 servers.
Yep.
So essentially, I can know how many clients are connected to my web application at any given point in time?
Clients will be users. The servers are the actual backend instances.
Okay.
In this case, there are only 2 instances. We could have 11, we could have 150.
Yeah.
We're using Application Insights to monitor our own internal workloads, including Application Insights. And if you want, I can show you how this actually looks on a real big production server.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So in this case, I would go to a dashboard. This is actually the typical dashboard I use to start most of my demos as I jump into the various parts of the experience.
So essentially what you did is you went into Application Insights and you selected certain pieces of data, and you were like, well, these are the things that are important to me. I'm going to pin this to my dashboard. So every time you log into the portal, you could select this dashboard, and then this is the view that you're going to see.
Exactly.
And this could be focused from one app to multiple apps. It doesn't really
Absolutely.
matter. Whatever your collection of information that you think is important, you can put it here.
That is absolutely true. And you can actually build dashboards out of multiple different data sources. So they could monitor both infrastructure, networking, and the application layer at the same time, security, right? You could have full RBAC, this proper Azure provider resources. So it's a really great way to collaborate as a team, or even just to go back to the same state yourself. So this is one of our instances that is monitoring the actual Application Insights portal. And you'll see a lot more data in here than is in our sort of demo app.
Okay.
And you can see there's about 100,000 users that have been using our service in the past 24 hours. With 100% availability, we actually rock,
Nice.
as opposed to the demo app.
Right.
So this is a live stream. And this would be monitoring exactly what is happening in production right now. And if there were LSIs, people will be jumping on this and using this very tool to go and debug application sites, in this case, front end.
Got it. Okay.
So definitely scales. As much as you want, you can throw at it. And the reason it scales, we haven't talked about the sort of the magic in the box, but it's all powered behind sort of the scenes by something called Kusto, which is application analytics, right? So let me actually show you a bit of that as well.
Sure.
You can get to it from here, right in the overview, and that will sort of give you this open-ended experience. Or you can get to it from any of these icons, and they are sprinkled throughout the entire product. So wherever you go, you will actually find these. And while I'm at it, let me also show you our new APM experience. This is something that lets you debug and analyze performance over time.
Okay.
Sort of in my previous life, I spent 10 years at Windows working on performance, right?
Yeah.
And this was the golden dream for us, being able to, at your fingertips, interactively ask for 95th percentile. So right now it's average, right?
Yeah.
And now it's 95th percentile. Be able to zoom in on any given section. And these spikes that you see there,
nice.
That's actually me running a perf test load. So I ran, I think, about 500 users. In fact, let me show you how well this is integrated. You just go to performance testing. And this will show you the recent perf tests, and you can also schedule new ones. So I ran a couple today.
So you ran the perf tests inside of Application Insights. This is not like a ASP.NET perf test or some external tool. You created here and ran it here.
I use the user experience of Application Insights Blade to do this. But remember, Azure is actually a collection of lots of different services with a very uniform UI, kind of like Windows. Okay. Right? So to the user, yes, it looks like it's Application Insights. It's a separate infrastructure that is doing, in this case, Visual Studio load testing.
Got it. Okay.
And yeah, if I wanted to, I could actually go and create a new one. So actually, let's do that. To make sure that this is very believable and live, I'm going to run another one. It will ask me what URL to ping, so let's just go and ping one. So now for a minute, it's going to do 250 users load.
Okay. So you set the duration, the test name,
Yep.
And then you just schedule it and you send it to go. And that's pretty much about it.
So another spike will show up, and we can actually probably see this live. This would be a good way to look at live.
So then at any moment now, we should see like some spikes going up from that load test that you just got scheduled to run.
Correct.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so while we're taking a look at this, so you mentioned that you used to work on Windows performance. So what kind of applications is Application Insights for? Is it just for web apps, or can I use it for desktop apps, for mobile apps? Can I use it for IoT devices, for instance? Like, what can I, where can I use this?
So technically, you could use it for anything, but our focus is on workloads running on servers.
On servers, okay.
And then the browsers connecting to those workloads.
Okay, so I could profile my JavaScript client side code if I wanted.
You could, yeah. As we're waiting for this to load, let me actually go and show you. There is, when you go to the performance blade, by default, that's not going to show you client information. In fact, you see client type equals not browser.
Sure.
But we have a separate blade here for browser. And you can see what kind of page views were happening, were they slow, was Ajax call slow. All of that is being JScript injected with JScript that is being served from the backend to your client, to the browser. And you can double click into those as well if you wanted to.
Right. So, when you showed the browser tab, the first thing I thought was, there's a lot of times where I'm building applications and I'm sending this telemetry or this diagnostic data.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's more so just trying to figure out where my users are coming from, what browsers are they using, what operating systems are they using. So it's not just a matter of having monitoring and performance and load testing, but I can also get some rich information about who are my users, who are my clients, how many times do they come to my application and the features that they're using. So you really get some really rich information out of Application Insights.
So you talk about usage analytics. We have an entire offering for that as well. It's currently in preview.
Okay.
And you can find this under the usage section in the Application Insights menu.
Got it.
It does let you segment by things such as operating systems, browsers, countries.
Sure.
It lets you see how well your retention is or not. It lets you build funnels, so you can actually see your conversion rates.
Okay.
Probably my most favorite feature here is actually user flows. So I'll show you funnels first. And you can define whatever custom events you want as you convert. So this is really useful for BizOps. Because especially as a product manager, you go and you focus on how many of the customers who came into the first blade went to the second blade, went to the third blade.
Yes, got it.
Checked out, right? But this is probably my most sort of favorite user experience. So what this does is it's going to dynamically, on the fly, based on the telemetry data, show you the navigations through your entire app.
Oh, nice.
And in this case, this is the overview page, which is this. And people are navigating to different pages. So you go and you see these different pages right here.
And so I noticed on the bottom, in the little tabs, it says sessions. So that would be the unique session that started in the beginning and then showed as it flowed through the application.
Yeah, you can do this by users, but so the default view is by sessions. And this is very customizable. I don't have time for this, but we could have another session just on that.
Just on this, sure.
How you can build user flows.
So one of the things I'm thinking about as you're showing us all these features is that you must store a lot of data to be able to generate some of these things.
We do.
So one of the things I'm wondering about is how long is this data actually stored for?
The default retention is currently at 30 days.
30 days, okay.
And then you can store it for longer and just pay for it per gigabyte.
Per gigabyte.
We also throw in the first 5 gigs for free.
First 5 gigs. So I can essentially get started using Application Insights and don't pay a single cent for it.
And if you don't have enough workload, if you're sort of still in the inner loop, you probably will never even reach the 5 gigs.
Right, nice, okay.
Every month you get 5 gigs.
Got it.
So now you see the workload. This is actually live load tests happening in production. And our sort of VSTS workload generator is hitting it with 250 simulated users.
Yeah.
And this is something you would do just before you deploy it, for instance, right?
Yeah.
This is something also you would do when you are deploying. It's something you would do when you're monitoring this big 9 AM event around the conference, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Could we take a look at the analytics experience?
Yep. So I just keep getting to it. Probably the best entry point into analytics, so it actually is not scary if you don't know what the language is to go through one of these icons, because what we did is the entire UX you see is built using the same Kusto queries that you can write yourself.
Sure.
And we made it possible for you to get to them. So if you go to this blade and you say View Analytics, either one of these views, I can go and I can just ask to be generated in Application Analytics. It will give me the full query that we use ourselves to generate it.
Okay, so that particular chart that we just looked at, the one that you clicked that icon on, it'll show me
it'll show up right now.
The Kusto query. And again, Kusto being the query language that we use to query these metrics.
That is correct. The reason it's called Kusto is because of the Jacques Cousteau, which is explorer of the sea.
Oh, really? Yeah.
This is big data. It's the sort of sea of data.
Right, nice.
So that's where this name came from.
That's very cool.
So it's the same exact histogram in this case. And this is probably one of the more complicated examples of a Kusto query. This would be a simpler one if we did a trend. But that's the best way I find to sort of get into the language and start changing things, like changing the time ranges, changing the operation names. It's not a complicated language. It took me about 20 minutes to pick it up, actually.
Right. And I'm sure we have documentation and whatnot that we could look at, references.
There is a ton of documentation. It's actually very well documented. If you go to AKAMS, and then Kusto, or Kusto docs, I think both work. there is a really good set of documentation in there.
Okay, awesome. Then I can come in here and learn about the different queries, the different parameters that I could use.
You can also use the default getting started experience that the application analytics has.
Okay.
So if you're coming sort of from scratch, or if you're using, there's another product called Log Analytics, which is basically Kusto as a service itself.
Okay.
They have a really good getting started experience here as well, and they give you sample queries. But if you're already playing with data from AI, it's sort of much easier to just jump into our own queries and start changing those.
Got it. So on the left-hand side there, it looks like I have a section of, I guess, topics, or like, what do we call those?
So this section of topics, this is data that you can work with.
Okay.
Application Insights has its own well-defined schema for Log Analytics in this case, right? So we are inside Log Analytics experience here.
Got it.
And you see the same telemetry items I talked about, traces, custom events, page use, requests, dependencies, exceptions, etc. These are the tables of, in this case, traces, and that's the schema for the traces.
Okay.
And this would be requests, and this is the schema for requests. And then you can run queries on top of these data sets. You can join them if you want to. You can, in fact, that's what we do. We look at these requests, and then we join them by correlated activity ID to see all the failures, all the dependencies that came as part of that. I could actually show you that. For instance, if I were to go and look, let's see something interesting. Oh, this is different. This is Insights Pro. I don't want to debug production. Let me go back to the app. If we are going to go and look at, say, one operation like get home index or something, and I can look at various samples for that operation and sort of just jump into one of them. Yep. This was a slow one, 8.6 seconds. Probably not a good idea to load your home page in 8 seconds.
Right.
And you can actually see why it was slow as well. We will show you that was a SQL problem. In fact, if you double click into this, you'll find out this is a SQL problem because I have overloaded this instance. It wasn't using the right tier. Yeah. So after 60 connections concurrent, it just said timeout.
Sure.
And the fix would be just to upgrade tiers. But you see this all available telemetry for this root operation. So these are sort of the related items. We can run these queries for you, and it will show you the related items. It's going to be sort of the same query.
Nice.
Again, I think there is a lot of sort of discussion that we can have around each of these experiences.
Sure.
There is ability here to go and get to the performance traces. So you can actually go and get to views like this. This is what you use when you debug local applications, like on desktop. This is Windows Performance Analyzer.
Yeah.
Every one of these profiles, actually I haven't shown you profiles yet. So if I clicked on this button, these profiles we are collecting in production using the same technology, making sense of them as you click, unpacking ETL right now, right? And we're going to show you a call stack.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yep.
And so at that moment in time, you caught this particular call stack, and so, oh wow, so I could drill all the way down into this.
In the portal, never leaving the portal.
Nice.
That's what I said. You don't actually have to have Visual Studio Code on your machine.
Yeah.
You could be a DevOps guy, and even if you're a developer, I mean, I've been a developer where I was debugging production for other people's code. So I don't need to go and install their entire solutions in this case. I can see all of this straight from the portal.
That's great. So for my .NET app, I essentially have deep integrations that I can see the call stack. I can see very detailed information about how long these methods took to execute, when they executed.
Yep. And you will see both your code as well as the dependencies you're making. So in this case, Azure Queue was spending quite a bit of time. In fact, it was sort of multiple different calls.
Yeah.
And you'll see exactly what's on the critical path. In this case, it was, because you were not making any progress here. You were waiting after this, right?
Got it.
And if you want to dig down deeper, download the ETL file, get these rich views, right? And then you can go as deep as you want. This is literally going down to context switches. You can say, oh, this thread was blocking everything else, so this log was an issue. So this is actually the first time that you can debug production workloads with sort of this no repro, no excuse mentality, which is you have evidence. There's nothing else you need. It's all there.
Got it.
And we brought you the same thing for both performance and for debugging. So if there are exceptions, one of the features we announced recently was snapshot debugging. And that's a really, really powerful feature. So what happens is every time there is an exception happening, we will clone a shadow process and we'll let your process run so it doesn't block. And then on the shadow process, we're going to do a dump of your memory. We're going to zip it up, send it back to the cloud, make sense of it, and show you in the portal call stack with variables.
Well, so everything that happened, so you have I get an instance in time of what was the problem at that point in time, and now you can inspect it and do some intelligent things with it.
That is correct. Yeah. So one of the demos I do in this application is that it's doing validation on zip codes.
Yeah.
So that was this code, and you find out that the reason this failed is because someone entered a Canadian zip code instead of the US zip code.
Sure.
And I can actually see this because I have local variables. I have the entire state in the debug snapshot.
Nice, that's awesome, man. So we're definitely gonna have to have you come back on another time because I feel like there's so much stuff to talk about. But this is a really good start in terms of just people understanding what exactly they could do with Application Insights.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that you try it out because it's free to start with.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot of telemetry for free to play with. And it brings today more insights than anything I've ever seen on a local box.
That's cool, man. So, hey, again, thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. And here we have another episode of the On.NET Show, and we learned all about Application Insights.